Colonel, former acting head of the Department for Nuclear Disarmament, Control of Ukraine at the Verification Center of the Armed Forces, Mykola Stelmakh, discussed the possible consequences for Russia if it uses the Oreshnik missile system. He shared his opinions with Espreso TV. Firstly, the Oreshnik, as a weapon system adopted by the strategic missile forces, does not exist. It is a side, dead-end branch of development. They have 1, 2, at most 3 missiles left. The talk about Oreshnik is a Russian psyop aimed at intimidating Ukrainians. In other words, they do not have such a weapon. Secondly, the launch of the Oreshnik is equivalent to the use of conventional non-nuclear weapons, roughly 6 250-kilogram aerial bombs. But they will not launch it because the technical quality of this weapon is very low, and this has already been proven in practice. Stelmakh noted. According to him, Russia should understand that in response to the Oreshnik launch, Ukraine can respond asymmetrically. We know where in Russia the production facilities for liquid rocket fuel are located, and this is an extremely poisonous substance. Even in Soviet reference books, it was noted that there is a so-called conditionally lethal toxic dose and an absolutely lethal toxic dose. In Russia, thousands of tons of this heptil are stored somewhere, and Ukraine, without using any other weapons except its good UAVs, can strike these storage sites, and this would be worse than Chernobyl. And they know that we are capable of doing this, Stelmakh emphasized. As tensions escalate in Eastern Europe, recent reports indicate that Russia is preparing for a significant military response against Ukraine, specifically targeting Kiev with a new missile system known as the Oreshnik. The Russian media outlet Baza reported that President Vladimir Putin has ordered the Ministry of Defense to identify targets in the Ukrainian capital for potential strikes. This announcement comes in the wake of Ukraine's alleged drone attacks on Moscow, which Russian sources claim are provocations that could lead to a serious escalation of the conflict. The Russian government is skeptical about the possibility of a truce and anticipates that Ukraine will continue its military operations, including drone strikes. With the threat of the Oreshnik looming over Kiev, the Ukrainian government has continued to assert its commitment to defending its sovereignty. President Volodymyr Zelensky has been vocal in his criticism of the Russian leadership, referring to them as morons and expressing his disdain for Putin's aggressive posturing. His remarks reflect a broader sentiment within Ukraine, where the resolve to counter Russian aggression remains strong.
Robert Prevost, the first American pope in the 2,000-year history of the Catholic Church, addressed the crowd at St. Peter's Square for the first time as Pope Leo XIV. According to Associated Press, Pope Leo XIV, the American Robert Prevost, said, "Peace be with you," in his first words as Pope, offering a message of peace and dialogue, without fear. From the loggia of St. Peter's Basilica, history's first American pope recalled he was an Augustinian priest, but that he was above all a Christian above all and a bishop, so we can all walk together. Prevost, a 69-year-old member of the Augustinian religious order, took the name Leo XIV. He appeared on the loggia of St. Peter's Basilica wearing the traditional red cape of the papacy, a cape that Pope Francis had eschewed on his election in 2013. Prevost had been a leading candidate except for his nationality. There had long been a taboo against a U.S. pope, given the geopolitical power already wielded by the United States in the secular sphere. But Prevost, a Chicago native, was seemingly eligible also because he's a Peruvian citizen and lived for years in Peru, first as a missionary and then as an archbishop.
La pace sia con tutti voi. Fratelli, sorelle carissimi, questo è il primo saluto del Cristo risorto, il buon pastore che ha dato la vita per il gregge di Dio. Anch'io vorrei che questo saluto di pace entrasse nel vostro cuore, raggiungesse le vostre famiglie, a tutte le persone, ovunque siano, a tutti i popoli, a tutta la terra. La pace sia con voi.